Well, for a little bit more on this, we're now joined by Nonhlanhla Mkhize, who is the LGBTI sector at the South African National AIDS Council. Thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Comrade, for having us.
All right, so 25 years on, when this constitution was put together, everybody held it and put it up as a document that we can be proud of and show off to the world. I suppose over time, it really has been tested. It's been clarified with case law. And 25 years on, we have an opportunity to look back and say, has it served us actually as a document? And I just wonder, in broad terms, before we just start looking at things in detail, what's your feeling about how the Constitution has worked for us over the last quarter of a century?
So I think, Peter, where perhaps one would say we currently at as the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and intersex communities in South Africa as it relates to the Constitution. And I think one wants to also appreciate the process and the ability to be part of an engagement that reflects on, our 25 years of democratic dispensation as led by our Constitution. I think where we probably are located is a level where, one, we do have a sense of pride and excitement about the legislation that we have at our disposal, and also how the Constitution over time, especially in its first 10 years, we have seen how it has advanced our own lives. But I think it's also, as you indicated, has gone through trials and tribulations as case law has revealed, where we are also at a point in our lives where the question is, are we getting the best that we could have out of our current legislation? Could there perhaps be more? Are we still proud? Yes, but there's room for more.
Yeah, I'm just thinking today, debates taking place in Parliament in Uganda, and they're passing laws that some might say are taking society backwards. I believe if you just say that you're gay, you could face life term in prison. So our laws are in play, and they're great, and they protect the LGBTI community. But the question is, how is the lived experience, even with the laws there for protection?
Sure. I guess we, like many others, perhaps us, the elder generation, compared to our younger activists, would appreciate the past that we are coming from, and therefore what the Constitution has been, insofar as coming from an era where it was about us redressing the wrongs of the past, bringing us or delivering us to freedom, to the concepts of justice, equality, human dignity, and freedom. And therefore, if you consider, therefore, the legislation that has come out of that, as indicated through case law, where we have a right to privacy, we are able to be in same-sex relations without having our bedrooms being policed by authorities, as it happens in our neighboring countries, to a context in time where, when we talk about labor relations, you talk about relations insofar as domestic. Do we have policies and legislation that protect us even within that space when we ourselves violate each other? And we have guidelines and policies that sort of guide how we're supposed to behave, but also the support that we're supposed to be offered when things go wrong. So if you look at it from that context, us being able to have children, adopt children, right to family, it sounds all good, fair and well. But I think that's what one was alluding to when you say, the first 10 years of our democratic dispensation through the Constitution has been just nothing but thumbs up. We've been making progress and delivering judgments upon judgments that are ensuring equality, dignity, and freedom for all. But if you look at where we're currently at right now, it feels as though we're starting to also move backwards. And it's not just at civil society level where it's our societies, where people are speaking and preaching hate and saying we're sinners, we should be convicted and all of that. But it's also in how we are not able to access services from public service providers, to an extent where even within those spaces we find ourselves being stigmatized, discriminated, and even oppressed.
That was going to be my next question, actually, because the Constitution talks about social economic justice. And part of that talks about access to healthcare facilities and healthcare. And I just wonder what your perspective has been in terms of that, because it's one thing to have laws that protect you, but there's also laws that guarantee you things. And it looks like maybe we're not always getting that which the Constitution says we deserve.
Sure. And I think that's where the problem is at. And I think that's where what the conference is pushing us to doing, insofar as reflecting on gains made or milestones achieved versus the lived reality and where we're at right now, and what we would want to see in a country where we are proud citizens of is, I mean, there was quite a lot of reference within the conference on the Bill of Rights, but also very much as far as what we can expect from our judiciary and, of course, institutions or pillars of governance. But I think just zooming into Section 27 of Chapter 2, the Bill of Rights, where we in particular are promised access to healthcare services, including reproductive health care. That's exactly one of the areas where a majority of us as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and intersex people are finding ourselves failed. At the same time, we want to appreciate processes and systems that have been put in place. If you consider where we currently located within the South African National AIDS Council, and how within that council we have championed at least two 5-year-long strategies that were looking at how to engage with and actively address and prevent HIV, TB, and STI across the board, and within which strategies LGBTI communities found articulation and found systems being put in place insofar as how do you ensure that we have access, that service providers are educated and sensitized about diversity, so that when they provide services, they are mindful of that. The Batupili principles, the human patients charter, all which speak to the concept of equality and respecting the right to privacy of the client, and how you treat them, how you handle their information, and how you even refer them. But yet, even with all of that, we still find ourselves in a situation where we are still being discriminated. I mean, the recent report by our comrades within the people living with HIV sector gives you quite clear data insofar as how many of us are finding themselves not being able to access services because we are LGBTI, perhaps we are sex workers, we are people that are using drugs, or people with disabilities. So it begs the question, has it been enough just enshrining these rights in the Constitution? Is there perhaps more that we needed to do over and above the national strategies and some of the frameworks and policies we've put in place? What is it that we need to do to change perception and bring us much more closer towards constitutional democracy?
Nonhlanhla, thank you so much. Been fascinating talking to you. Thanks for your thoughts tonight.